IVM.
Welcome to Audio Gyan with Kedar Nimkar, a podcast that documents insightful conversations with Indian designers, artists, musicians, writers, thinkers, and creatives of all types. Catch us on iTunes or visit audiogyan.com for more Gyan sessions. Here's your host, Kedar Nimkar.
I'm pleased and privileged to have Chetan Shedjale with us. Practically everyone has driven a motorcycle, but today we'll be exploring what goes into designing it. I was very curious to know what goes into making a motorcycle, the goals, the challenges, especially something which has such a passionate and a huge user base across the globe. We'll also ask Chetan how did this small town Solapur born designer made it to Harley Davidson and has successfully launched Harley's Street 750. Chetan has worked with few of the influential people like Massimo Tamburini and is working in Harley Davidson since 2010. Hi Chetan, thanks for giving us your time for AudioGAN. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks for having me over here on your audio GAN. It will be fun talking with you.
The first and the foremost is like a very simple question. So, what is like motorcycle design, and how can one get into it?
Well, motorcycle design as such, it is part of industrial design, as we all know, but it is a niche subject, and usually where forms and proportions are dealt over two wheels, and that's what motorcycle design is, at least from my understanding. And where you put a emotion as a designer, you put an emotion in a product which makes a desire for the public or the customer to possess. Somebody dreams it, and we give him that dream to live and live freely with that dream.
But how does one get into it? I mean, what's the process?
Well,
Or for that matter, how does one what does one need to learn to become a motorcycle designer?
yeah, sure. Well, the understanding of basic understanding of the forms and proportions are very much important to begin with. The basic standard courses are in India. I think now we have a lot of industrial design courses. Those can help you to be somewhere in motorcycle design. But personally, I feel you are born with certain skills. If you are passionate about motorcycles, that doesn't mean you will be a motorcycle designer. Are not able to attain what you are wanting for, and that is because of the not understanding side, and that is technical aspect. So when you say of a chassis, what is a chassis, what types of motorcycles are existing in the market, these all things are more or less self case studies. As a student, I used to do that. Maybe somebody else who works with me has done it, and know the Western culture, the Eastern culture. There are different cultures. Like four cousin sisters, we call them. They are from Japan. Honda rules the world. Suzuki has its name. Kawasaki has its name. But all these design directions have come because of certain passionate people. So design is not like how we say industrial design course you can go, but when it comes down to car design, you have to have understanding of forms and proportions of a car. Same way, motorcycle has more to it because if you think of it, car has big four surfaces. Motorcycle has lot of surfaces which are seen naked eyes, like through a naked eye, like you can see them. If you talk of even a scooter has a front and a back front panels. Then there is a seat, but the seat has got two sides. There is a rear, but there is a inner rear also, because you go on the backrest. So the same philosophy, if you apply to a motorcycle, you have a cockpit which has to be very visually communicative, but it has to be really small enough to fit on a motorcycle. So there are challenges which are different. So learning these are more or less, I would say, a self case study. Go through the market, what is existing in the market, learn these by yourself, what are those proportions. And obviously industrial design course is very important and basic, like you have to go through something where you understand when you communicate through a drawing, like when you do a sketch, you have to communicate. You don't have to speak your words through that. Means I'm not I'm coming or not to your point, but if you draw, you shouldn't be able to talk, but your drawing should sell. That's what my mentor said always.
Correct, correct. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And so, what are like the design goals? I mean, I come from a interface background, so we generally have certain set of goals before uh, addressing a particular problem statement or making an interface, right? So, what kind of design goals generally? Because this is slightly new to me as well, and I'm hoping it's also new to a lot of people in India. So, just want to understand. Like what could be the design goals while making a bike at a broad level?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a 20,000 feet foot rule, like thumb rule kind of, because it's a secret sauce of each company, and I cannot expel it with whom I'm working. But the basic idea of attaining a motorcycle for a certain market, like if you're designing a particular product for Europe or you're trying to do a product for global, there are two different aspects. So that comes through marketing research and your own research, and you talk through people. People tell us, but they really don't tell you whole idea, but they tell you some features like, oh, I like this way or I like that way, or I want the comfort of this level, but I don't want it to be heavy. So these are design goals which come down and they get distilled in a form of like single words like agile, example, aggressive nature. People will be like, I want power. Power means it goes directly to the engine capacity. Is so example, if you're in India and people would say like many of the times people might say, oh, there is a lot of heat. So that is directly to the solution of liquid cooling or oil cooled or whatever it is. So those are kind of like major milestones which we have to take in consideration while designing. So when we come to all these distilled words, then sketch starts getting into a form of a motorcycle. Obviously, ergonomics comes in talks before even you start designing sometimes, because if we are targeting a certain height customer, like if Southeast Asia is majorly populated with 5 feet 5 or something, whatever it is, right? Think of that also. So these are like major goals which we have to broadly understand, and we come close to like, acha theek hai, this can happen this way or that can happen this way. And then we have, in my studio we have 7 to 8 designers, so they come up with their own interpretation of that particular market. Really fun, because that's how the competition is, and then you start coming closer to the final eventual product and stuff. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. In fact, that naturally enters into my like next question, which I had was, what are the general stages in while designing a bike? I mean, a very broad structure of the team or iterations, because I'm like really curious to understand like what kind of a process also goes into it.
well, it's a good question, but the team of pool of designers are divided into different groups and stuff, but it depends on how big is your team and how big is the, like if you are working in a consulting company, your team is going to be small. If you are working in a multinational company like a Japanese brand like Honda, there are a lot of designers and they get dedicated certain parts of the motorcycle. There are guys in there who are really cool and they do just whole motorcycle, and their sketches are like the top notch. If you go down to Suzuki, it has got its own style. Like each studio has their own way of working. I came from Massimo Tamburini, my first mentor, who was a known designer. There you get chance to show your whole motorcycle concept, like the whole sketch. Whatever you understood through the market, you would draw and show it to Massimo, and then he would pick and choose certain parts from it, and then I always called him a chef, not a designer, because he would choose different parts from different sketches and then make one sketch which would look cool. And then also nowadays, as you get become more mature in designing motorcycles, you understand the levels, then you are able to do the whole entire bike. Luckily for me, I have done 7 projects with Harley Davidson till now, and I have the lead. So I have done from scratch, like white paper and pen to the end. A dream come true, because there are a lot of them who struggle even to get one part out in the market, but I have been able to showcase the strengths which I have, and obviously, so that's different style of working again. So there are different styles of works, and then stage wise, it's the I think it's the car design process or car design world process is the same as us, same iterations and stuff. It's more like you start with blue brainstorming sketches, which are almost just thematic sketches with lines. Like if the bike has to be a cruiser, what lines are important. Then again, brand comes in. Means each brand has its own lines of understanding of a cruiser. Bajaj has its own. These are like different forms of works. And again, from sketch, it goes to a clay. Clay modeling usually is done by clay modelers in car industry. They have a different, how we say, different set of people. But in motorcycle, usually in some design houses like big like Honda, you have a clay modeler who supports you. Smaller houses like MV or even at Harley, sometimes we do the designer itself goes and does the clay. So it's very fulfilling job because you have sketched it, so you get it to the 3D and you feel the surfaces. So you're basically giving birth to the baby which you were drawing. There is a lot of how we say personal touch to it. Yeah, so the personal touch comes in. You start talking with the clay a lot. Like I end up talking hours together myself while I'm doing the clay because that's the best part of my life. I feel like I'm meditating. Again, after clay, you go to the proto phase where you're doing all SLS, which 3D printed parts. Nowadays, we call them 3D printed parts, so which are used, but the bike is a markup. So there are different iterations of markup. One will be style like the design markup, the industrial design house markup. Then engineering comes in and talks with you and says we cannot what they cannot do, which is a big list. And the challenge of a designer starts there. The designer becomes a police from there, and then he starts understanding and giving them direction, and the general idea starts getting into place. So from clay to first markup to second markup, it starts maybe sometimes the lines differ. So again, you have to go back on the board, draw, and give to the engineering team and tell them this is what I wanted. You guys have differed, whatever, whatnot. So there is a back and forth, and there is a healthy discussion because the engineers also want to do this product, right? Means they all are looking forward to put forward this product in the market. So the struggle, what we go through is long process. Each project has its own challenges. We try our best to get closer to the design goal, which was seen in the sketch. So very hard to keep the sketch alive in form of how do you say, like a markup to an engineering markup and then a first proto, and then there are different builds like till the time bike starts actually running on the track and testing. Sometimes I get tears in my eyes because you had seen few like a year or 2 year ago a sketch, it became reality. So that's the how we say fulfilling part of your life.
Correct. Just to slightly get deeper in one of the steps is what kind of goals are there, or what kind of process happens when it's actually ready from that state to actually hitting the market, because there could be a lot of safety testing and those kind of things as well, right?
So we call it validation, process of validation. There is in each company there will be a huge team which just does validation and all ergonomical issues. They check and recheck and test and retest. How I can say you like there is means there are various steps. I might not spill all the beans here, but there are a lot of steps which are considered before the product starts getting into proto phase. You come closer to the phase of like pre-production phase, bike starts going on track. So heat issues are checked all the time. Like I think Mahindra had done a car which was tested all over the world. Go for during winter and summer and all the conditions because they wanted to go global. So that happens usually with most of the companies. Even same is sometimes with motorcycles. If you are doing a global product or something, but motorcycle has got a very niche market, so we have to cater to each and every country. Harley Davidson has got like more or less 110 different countries to cater. Example, we have to. When I say cater, is like you have to understand their road safety rules and regulations of each country, and you have to work accordingly to that. So, like simple as lighting. It's big deal to do a motorcycle with signature lighting and having it to be confirmed and validated through each and every country's rules and regulation. For example, Europe has its own set of goals, Canada has its own, or Brazil has its own, Australia has its own, India has its own, which is 1975, like 1875, not even 1975. I call it that way. We are very old in rules and regulation. China has its own set of rules. So each company has to go through this. There are experts who sit in the team. Time to time, team members change. They come in, they go out, they give you the ideas, they give you the numbers which you have to fit in. Simple as like the turn signal. You have a certain angle to be shown in the world in different ways. Like in US, they really have a different idea of turn signal. In India, where it is accidents are born to happen, so you have to like take care of that angle where the light has to blink a little bit more or the timing of the blinking. It is for us sometimes it is day-to-day job, so we don't even really think of it. Yeah, it is happening. When you ask me, then I start thinking, oh yeah. So I gave you a lighting example. Just think of it. Each one of the parts has to go through that way. That has to be like a shock absorber, the rear shocks, the front shocks, speedometer gauges. Like speedometer gauges are to be designed according to, like, in US we see miles per hour, in UK they say miles per hour and kilometers per hour. So you have to print both. Go to India, it is kilometers per hour because it is all British systems. We have to work according to the British system. Like the metric and non-metric and all that stuff we have to deal.
We generally have to fight with the business or the product managers or the engineering people to stay true to our design, and yet there's a compromise, right? So what kind of compromise happens in this case where you are very passionate about a particular shape or but that is like conflicting with the ergonomics or certain things, or that's actually spoiling the character as overall, but still you have to deal with that. So what generally happens there?
Well, I think I would not say fight. It is a healthy debate, I would say, because engineering doesn't want to spoil really the concept. They are just saying what is really correct or what has been benchmarked is is something which is comfortable for a motorcycle rider. So we would like to go there. So as a designer, it's a big challenge, and that's where you really prove yourself if you're a designer or not. If you keep on falling in love with your own design, this is one of the thumb rules which I learned from Tamburini was like, don't fall in love with the design. Work according to the requirements. Follow what are the steps which we have, but still make it so cool that people don't really realize it has been thought so. Understand? I'll give you an example which happened in MV Augusta way back when I was working with Tamburini. And before, I think I joined him, before that, this thing had happened, and I saw it happening also later on. What he would do is, engineering would come and tell, oh, Tamburini or like Massimo, this is not possible because of so and so. The tank has to be so small because the rider wants to do this and that. So what he did was the sketch was looking so and so cool, and he said, "Okay, fine. I understand what you are trying to do. Bring me a rider here." We made the rider to sit on the clay, and rider put his hands on the tank. Right where the tank touched the rider, we sculpted the tank, and we took it a rough cut. That's it. After the rider left, we started the design process and we got a solution today, which is an iconic look for MV Agusta. So, the challenge and goals are there. If you are smart enough, you can make way better job in that challenge which has been given to you. So I don't know if I have given you the right answer, but so that example I wanted to make a point here is like we have to be smart enough not to just keep on just drawing one sketch and say this is what it is done, this is what it is. No, there is always iteration, there is always a point where cost comes in discussion. It has to be a certain cost. Because of cost, if you can't make a product which can be sold to the public, like in the market at a certain price tag, as a designer you have to think of that also. So sometimes I feel like we as designers have to be jack of all. You talk with the finance people, you talk with the marketing people, you talk with the engineering people, you talk with the validation people. Means we are there from day one when the project starts. Usually happens with every motorcycle industry and car industry. Like the designer is involved till the end because he keeps an eye on if the lines are changing, you know but he still gives proper feedback wherever it is required and give direction to that design process of that product to come as close as possible to the sketch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've seen at least in the online world or the app world where we continuously have these releases, right? So you release a product and then maybe a 1 month down the line you either have a patch or you upgrade the product. Similar such things can happen while designing a bike. So you ship out, you manufacture, and it's in the market. And maybe 1 year down the line, you just have a V1 out of it, like or a version 2, where you think that this could have been refined. Is that the case? Is it considered as a upgrade or like probably a failure of a designer because uh, it's gone at such a large production level that so how does that work?
No, I think failure is not that like that's how you measure the failure. If the product
Yeah, I'm like for a lack of better word, I don't know like what to say. That's why I just like failure. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, if the product is doing well, and although we knew we needed to do changes, we obviously implement, means as not as designer but as a company, we will obviously each company implements these designs or these changes, and they might be in the phase of proto while the product was getting launched. Something happens, and then there are products like that which I have seen in, like, in my career of last 15 years. I have seen like that has happened, and that is a yearly change which happens also in car industry. Like 1 year the car has been launched, it is out with some basic amenities, and then the next year the car gets more better features. And because the product life cycle is 5 years, more or less 5 to 6 years is the product life cycle in car. That's more or less is our also, like motorcycle industry is also same, or sometimes it is smaller life cycle, like a shorter life cycle, because the product is different. And if we are in certain markets, like in South America, there is a product very much in demand, so you might not change certain things for that market. But if the product is not doing really well in certain market, like in Asia or somewhere, you have to do the changes to get the customer in the showroom, buy the product and go satisfied, because at the end satisfaction is very important. So we usually do that upgradation, and it is very normal.
This is getting more and more interesting, and I'm sure like a lot of potential listeners will be inspired to venture into this field. So yeah, what are like the few design considerations also while designing a bike for India or for other countries? I mean, with respect to infrastructure.
I think I hit that point a little while ago because India, specifically for India, the customer, who is the customer, what is the market scenario, what is the capacity, or like the potential customer has the vitamin M or money power, how much he can spend, what is those things are considered as per marketing wise, and then as per the product itself, a little bit culturally jiving sometimes. But if you think, um, many products are coming and setting themselves their shops in India now, and they are selling. So Harley has done its own. Like I think we have been very much successful. We are number one in India in 650 cc and above. We have been keeping that number one position for a while, and the reason we apart like the brand is so ingrained into the people, and number two, the products which we give, attraction and owning a product is a experience itself. The considerations are like, what type of customer he is, what product can be sold, and then as a designer you get these all feedbacks and you kind of work accordingly to that market if we want to do really specific for that market. And also the last point is again like validation, like heat conditions. Like if you're riding in Rajasthan, riding a bike which is like a hot potato, so consider these things also.
Cool. Yeah, I would like to conclude with one final question because, like the last time when we spoke of having this sort of audio gyan, you very briefly told me about your exciting and also very, I don't know what, but yeah, it was a challenging journey. So we would like I would like to know just how did you become a designer and like just your story, something, or also maybe some bit of inspiration for the young designers in India as well.
Yeah, well, I was born in Solapur. It's in Maharashtra, in on the borders of Karnataka, in a Kannada family. I was very much into drawing or like understanding the forms, and I was a visual guy. By the time I completed my 12th and I went into architecture because that was the only way you could get some sort of, design education. Industrial design is there. I didn't even know after first year that there is industrial design. And my dad said, well, at least finish this degree. So I finished architecture with a thesis project for architecture that was motorcycle design center for a emerging company in India. So I started going towards the direction which I wanted, but I took the path from I think third year of architecture and I started walking towards there. It was a big journey from there. I gave entrance exams for NID. I knocked all the exams very easily. I was in the top 10 of that time. The moment I got to know that I was in, I called my father and I said, if I'm able to do something good here, I'm 100% sure I can be better off to perceive my career of passion of motorcycles. I think that will be the best way. Coming from a humble background, you know it very well. You have to be very thoughtful of financial side of your dream also. Means many banks wouldn't even sign loans for me because they said this education is not even valid. This is not even existing in the curriculum of their courses. I went to Milan where I was in contact with SPD, which was a design school, which had a course structure which was master's program, but very much not theoretical but more practical. So you were on the field, you were meeting designers, you were going in the industry. And by the end of the course, I was in top three, and I would sit from 8 in the morning till 8 in the night in the school itself because that was my Jina Marna Khana Pina Wahi pe. Do or die. Master's program, I got a chance to work in Fiat, and while I was doing internship at Fiat, I came across a gentleman whose name is John Salamini. he would speak Italian, English, and I was almost there. I would speak Italian very good by that time. I called him and I requested him to meet studio. I didn't know the scenario over there. I went there. There was no one but him and one partner. And he said, "We don't really do any motorcycle design anymore now. I see you have good potential. I would help you." From there, I think I went to his studio 3 months. In the meantime, he made me meet one more friend of his who was a motorcycle designer and a well-known person in industry, Filippo Corticelli. He is a manager at Royal Enfield's Design in UK. They both made help in a way where my portfolio became very substantial and strong enough to fight with very good people from maybe Art Center of California or UK's Coventry. I was strong enough in that time. I started sending my portfolio to many different design studios, which were like Honda, Yamaha, anywhere. I got in contact with Massimo Tamburini. His studio is CRC, Centro Ricerca Cagiva. It was a center of research for Cagiva motorcycles. I had a big portfolio. In my third sketch of motorcycle, he said, "Close it, let's walk in." He took me into in the company. His office was outside. From the way I walked into the design studio and he said, "This is the place, these are the guys, would you like to work?" I was like, "Yeah, I can work." I got my first job under Massimo Tamburini. And from there, the journey began as a real motorcycle, you can say, motorcycle design. And once he retired, I started looking for my own new ventures, and that's where Husqvarna BMW happened. That helped, and meanwhile, I was also in touch with some other companies. Uh, that's where Harley Davidson happened. So I was working in BMW Husqvarna in the Alps. Basically, it was in Switzerland. I was working there. The financial side was not good enough. If you think of Indian family mentality, 7 years had passed, and I was not even making good money enough for myself. Forget about that's how it started. Till that time, people had written me off like this is a failed character, failed career. Because in our country, passion is sometimes not understood very well. We are typical, understanding is like, यदि आप documents, you have to be a doctor or an engineer, otherwise you're not successful. Hardly happened. Hardly happened, and they called me. They wrote, means Ray was the VP that time. He was a director and VP both. He called me and he said, "Would you like to come down to Milwaukee and meet with us?" In way back in 1998, 1999, I think 1999, 2000, I was sitting in my living room in Solapur watching a video documentary on Discovery Channel, and they were showing Harley Davidson's V-Rod development. The way we are talking now about the development of motorcycle, they were showing the video of development of V-Rod motorcycle, and the Ray Dre, Kirk Rasmussen, Frank Savage, these all people were there on the video. And I saw it and I joked in front of my father, I would like to work somewhere like this. Somewhere like this. Okay. And the call comes in, I fly in. I came to Milwaukee. It was a really heavy snowstorm. Like snow was like Milwaukee gets a lot of snow. It was a heavy snowstorm. They were really worried that I will get afraid of snow and go back and never come back here. Uh, I joined them. I signed the contracts, and I joined them. And then they told me I was going to lead the project called Street 750, which is now in market as Street 750. The bike got launched in 2013. I was lucky enough to see the product on the floor in Milan with two other concept bikes which I designed. That was RDX 800 and Urban Custom. Urban Custom was literally born in Bangalore in an auto rickshaw, and I'm just going, and it was 2000, I think 2012. I'm there for some work, and I saw a guy enjoying his own ride, bubble helmet, Ray-Ban glasses, chopped Royal Enfield, and he's just going and enjoying his ride. And I just fell in love with that lifestyle, and I said I would like to do something. And then while we presented Street, we wanted to show the customization potential of this platform, and we did three custom concepts. So one was done by Dice Nagao, my other colleague, and two were done by me. And I think Street literally changed the game and gave me the recognition which you would know, like, yeah, there is a guy, he's Chetan, and blah blah blah, and so that's how it happened. And then after that, it has been going on, and I have worked with many different engineers around here in Harley now. In entire career, I think I would say like 11 projects which are on road. Out of those, the most popular will be Street 750 and the most recent Street Rod.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, reading about it a bit. And what's the future like, matlab, from a motorcycle design, and also like the way Tesla is coming in with or has come with electric vehicles, right? So what's the future? Maybe like 100 years down the line for motorcycles. Like, what's your vision?
Well, my vision would be like, obviously there are different ways you can approach to the two wheels. Like at the end, a man or anybody who rides, you can go and talk with them. They love it. They fall in love. Like one of my friends, she is riding right now around the world, and she has already crossed 7 countries. And I was talking with her, and she says, "This is what I wanted to do." And so looking at the vision of future, maybe with stricter emission norms, we might end up getting smaller engines work harder or something, or electric is an option, but then infrastructure has to be developed. Tesla has developed an infrastructure in US at a point where you can at least have your charging ports like gas stations. Visioning that going to happen is going to take a lot of time in maybe motorcycle industry. I have seen motorcycles with hydrogen fuel cell protos around. Volkswagen has been working not on motorcycle but in car sector, but these are things which take time, because again, this has to be safe enough to ride and has to be validated and has to accept all terrains. Like if you go in Mexico, you cannot, example, you cannot tie a cylinder on an engine and go around. We call India as like all roads with dump. No, Mexico is worse than that. The way world is progressing, in certain upcoming countries, it is very fastly developing everything, and it is cool. But in certain other countries, you have to develop certain things. Like Honda has a product very much developed only for Mexico and Brazil. In those areas, you cannot go with a normal bike at all. These are the things which we vision, and my vision going down the 100 years also is way far. I would say, like, in next 50 years we should see motorcycles with electric power trains, which we see, like Zero is there, and some other companies are trying, but infrastructure is not supported. So I would say first infrastructure is important, means.
All right, I think it was great understanding, and obviously, like, I would like to schedule another call someday with more details and more nuances about motorcycle design. But thanks a lot, Chetan, for giving us your time. I hope like this was really good. So thanks a lot for being on Audio Gan.
No, thanks to you, Kedar, because the intent over here, I would say, is like the young upcoming designers. I would help them in this way, because I think I believe giving back to the society in a better way. Because what struggles I went through, I feel other students should not go through. Like now, India is getting a lot of more infrastructure in design, and I'm happy to see kids are getting that, because it's very it used to be very hard, like in my days or even your days, I guess. So thank you very much for inviting me for your audio GAN session.
And that's it from today's GAN session with Chetan Shedjale. Stay tuned for more GAN on Audio GAN next week. Till then, bye.
Hello! It's been a great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On This Round is on me, Gauri is joined by Shweta Nanda. They talk about the financial independence and how it is to be a woman entrepreneur. On Anish Thing, Anish welcomes ultra-marathon runner Shivani Gharat. Shivani shares her journey of how she ran her first marathon, the mindset of a runner, and what it actually takes to run a full marathon. On Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Naveen, Akash and Shreyas talk about the Korean band BTS serving in the military and its repercussions. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita discuss Wing Greens and their latest acquisitions and about the Indian sexual wellness market. And on Shunya One, Sheila Datya is joined by Dinika Bhatia, CEO and founder of Nuttigritties. They talk about coming from a business family and Dinika's journey in creating healthy and guilt-free snacking. Once again, don't forget to visit our merch store on ivmpodcast.com. We have some exciting new merch out there for you. Also, do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And do remember to spread the word about these shows and any other shows you might be listening to. Appreciate them, rate them, and review them wherever you are listening to them. You can also check out all our other shows on youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week. Volvo XC40 Recharge, Bumble, Heads Up for Tails, Kotak Privy League Program, and HDFC Mutual Fund. Thanks guys, without you this would not be possible.
Do you often find yourself surrounded by conversations about Web3, blockchain, NFTs, DAOs? What are these terms and how do they affect our future on the internet? So many questions, but don't worry, we've got answers to all your questions. Hi, I'm Eklavya Bhattacharya, and on our show Future Proofing, we try to decode the impact of these future technologies on various industries with experts and tech enthusiasts. Tune into new episodes coming out every Thursday on the IVM Podcast app and the website, or wherever you get your podcasts from.